Have you ever been asked to forgive someone who hurt you deeply? If you forgave them, how did it make you feel to show forbearance? If not, what was missing in the request for forgiveness? Have you ever asked for forgiveness? In this episode, we do a deep dive into the process of healing and grace as modeled in the story of Yusuf and his brothers. This is Quran Conversations, the podcast for anyone who wishes to unlock the meaning and healing power of the Quran. I'm your host, Dalia Mogahed, an author, researcher, and a student of the Quran. I'll be in conversation with one of my dearest teachers, Imam Muhammad Majid. He's a scholar of the Quran and longtime family counselor and congregational leader. If you're enjoying this podcast, please review it on your podcasting platform. It helps us more than you know. Quran Conversations is sponsored by forgave, an online learning platform for Quranic Arabic which I myself use. Start your journey in unlocking the language of the Quran. Go to forgave.org. That's FAWAKIH.org. We hope this podcast encourages your own reflective journey with the Quran. Make sure to stay until the end to hear this week's reflection prompt. For more spiritual insights, follow me on Instagram at Dalia Mogahed. Without further ado, let's dive into this episode. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to another episode of Quran Conversations. I'm your host, Dalia Mogahed, and I'm in conversation with my teacher, Imam Muhammad Majid. And where we left off last time is with Ayah 88, and we're about to start Ayah 89, where Yusuf alayhi salam confronts his brothers. How are you, Imam Majid?
Alhamdulillah. I really enjoyed this journey of Surah Yusuf with you.
Absolutely. I can start reading this next ayah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قال هل علمتم ما فعلتم بيوسف وأخيه إذ أنتم جاهلون. He said, do you now realize what you did to Yusuf and his brother when you were ignorant? So Imam Majid, we are here bringing everyone back up to speed in the court of Al-Aziz, who is of course Yusuf alayhi salam, and he and his brothers are there asking for his charity, asking for his help, almost begging him to take mercy on them and give them more provision than they have the means to pay for. And his response to them is this question. Do you like to start reflecting on this pivotal moment in the story of Yusuf alayhi salam?
Yeah, the amazing story of Yusuf alayhi salam. Now Yusuf unveiling himself. He telling them, reminding them, have you come to understand now what did you do to what you have done to Yusuf and his brother? He didn't say, have you now realized what you have done to me and to my brother? SubhanAllah, he's talking about himself, Yusuf.
In the third person, yeah.
Yes, because it is a very important from the emotional, psychological, aspect of healing for Yusuf alayhi salam to tell them to realize his presence. Do you know what have you done to Yusuf? And now they come to realize his Yusuf, as you see in the next verse. But there's something important in the issue of healing and forgiveness, is to make people realize the wrong they have done. You don't forgive them without them acknowledging what they have done. Mm-hmm. That's what Rasulullah went to when he went to Mecca. After the opening of Mecca, he asked people of Quraysh, what do you think I'm going to do to you today? What do you think about what's going to happen?
Right.
And then they recognized his nobility. He said, you're a noble man, the son of a noble man. أخ كريم ابن أخ كريم. Then he said, اذهبوا فأنتم الطلقاء. Go, you are free now. For Yusuf alayhi salam going through this process of having to acknowledge the wrong they have done. And that's why I say always forgiveness is not a switch you turn on and off. It's a process by which you come to heal from the wrong you have done to you. And to sometimes part of that is confronting the people who have wronged you. And then he wanted them to come to complete realization, the magnitude, the trouble they have caused for Yusuf alayhi salam and his brother, because he wanted them to acknowledge the pain that they have inflicted on him and his brother. Because as you can see in the previous verses, when they're talking to their father, forget about Yusuf. You keep remembering Yusuf. There's no remorse. And therefore, he wants them now to realize the wrong they have done. By the way, this is not only for Yusuf alayhi salam to heal, but for them also to recover from the wrong they have done. Because if a person does not recognize their sin and being in denial, or their wrongdoing they have done in denial, they become numb. They will continue to do injustice. For now is a moment of realization and unveiling himself to them. You could have done that, by the way, in the beginning of the story, the first time. Do you know what happened to Yusuf? No. He wanted them to go through this process, and when they come to this point where you just said beautifully that they come and recognize that they humble themselves before him. Please give us more. You are a good man. Allah will reward you for your charity giving. Now, when he realized that they humbled themselves, then he unveiled to them that he is Yusuf alayhi salam and this is his brother.
Thank you so much, Imam Majid. One thing that I reflected on in reading this is that he gave them an out. He gave them a face-saving out by saying, إِذْ أَنْتُمْ جَاهِلُونَ, when you were ignorant. And this is incredibly profound, that when you want someone to recognize their mistake, you have to still allow them a passageway that maintains their human dignity. He could have said, what you did to Yusuf, which made you the most deplorable people in the world, or essentialized.
Antum zalimun,
Antum zalimun, right?
Yeah.
And he could have said that, and it would have been true.
Yeah,
it would have been absolutely true. He could have identified them with a negative quality, which is accurate, and force them to sort of accept it. But instead, he gave them an out that said, you didn't know any better.
Yeah.
You did badly because you didn't know better. Now, do you know better?
Yes.
When when you knew better, are you doing better? And I think he's modeling such high moral ethics.
Yes.
Right? Of how to deal with people when you still hold space for their remorse and their tawbah and their repentance and their recovery. It's such a reminder that even the worst acts can sometimes, not always, be a recovery. There can be a what's the word I'm looking for? When a rehabilitation,
remedy.
Yeah, a remedy. And but it takes conditions, and as you mentioned, the conditions must include recognition of the wrong and a remorse for it. It doesn't just happen, this idea of pressuring victims to forgive when no accountability has been done and no recognition of wrong has been done. But they've taken small steps throughout the story, even though it's never been this full-throated confession of wrong. I mean, now the next ayah is the closest we get to sort of them admitting they're wrong. I don't, when you look, something I thought was interesting is comparing their sort of confession or recognition of wrong with that of Zulaykha. Hers was much stronger, much more clear.
Yeah.
Very unambiguous.
That's interesting. You know, one of the things that the word هل علمتم ما فعلتم, you know, one of the things that
which means, did you know?
Do you know?
Yes.
Do you realize?
Do you realize?
I see that in my counseling. A husband or wife, they may turn to their spouse and say, do you know exactly what you have done?
Yes.
Do you really know how much pain you have caused me? Do you really know what I went through? Do you know that or not? They looked at them and that person said, I think so. He said, I don't think so. Let me tell you what it is. And then a person tried to explain to them, this is me. At the time that you said to me this, I was really felt this way. I felt this way. Because sometimes a person might not know exactly, like he said, it antum jahilun. You don't know what I want. You are completely clueless of the pain I went through, separation, isolation, humiliation, all of that. I was today. It's very interesting that I had Imam Mendes at the Adam Center, and he mentioned something about Surah Yusuf, or the stories in general. He said all the stories in the Quran have separation and then realization. That you know, people will be separate from somebody and then reunited with somebody else. And you know, and it is true, by the way. It's like you have Musa alayhi salam separate from his mother, and you have Ibrahim alayhi salam. You know, all of this test of relationship. But in this one here, that he said, "Alimtum ma fa'altum." Do you know exactly what you have done? You know, there's emphasis here. Alimtum ma fa'altum bi Yusuf. What he tried to tell them, do you know what it is? Do you know exactly what you have done? Do you really know the magnitude of the pain that you inflicted? When you were completely ignorant, you didn't realize what I was going through. That was if antum jahilun. You know, it completely become numb. Because ignorance sometimes is a lack of information, but ignorance also lack for this what I call it, emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Ignorance, not recognizing people's pain, not being sensitive to people. You know, sometimes a person might say something so hurtful to somebody. Said, I didn't realize that hurt you that much. You know, because they are not sensitive, they are not acknowledging the audience or the person listening to them. They don't put themselves in other person's shoes. There's no empathy. That's what he said to them. Antum jahilun.
No, I think it's really important what you said about asking someone, do you even know what you're apologizing for?
Exactly.
Right. So it's
You're
like,
right.
well, I'm sorry. Khalas. Like, you don't say any. That's all you should want, is for me to say those two words, and then magically you're going to be fine with whatever I just did. And they actually know the victim of a wrong needs you to know and express what it is that you actually did.
Exactly.
Right.
You're right.
And I think it's maybe a good time to just share with our audience, what is the anatomy of an actual apology? What is an apology? How should an apology sound? An apology has to be, I did the following, and then you describe it. Yeah. Explain what you actually did.
Exactly.
Then the impact of it, and this is how it affected you. Made you feel small, made you feel isolated, made you feel alone. Explain the impact of what you did. And I am so sorry, I regret this, and then I will not do this again, and I will rectify it in the following ways. This is how an apology works. It's like a 4-part thing. It's not just, I'm sorry. That's trying to get off the hook and trying to dismiss, honestly.
Yeah.
what's going on. But unless you can describe what you did, acknowledge its impact, and how the person felt and how you're going to rectify it, and then actually show remorse, you haven't fully apologized for what you did. And only then can you expect forgiveness, honestly.
Yeah, I like what you said, because many people said, I said sorry. That's
Right.
it.
Yes.
Don't ask me to say anything more. What do you want?
Right. You want to torture me forever about this? I already said sorry.
And there's no humility sometimes come with it. A person apologizing in a way that come across very arrogant. Okay, I'm just going to say sorry, and then we need to move on.
Right. It's a way to silence, not a way to show remorse. Right?
Yeah.
Would you like to read their response, the next ayah?
Yes.
Bismillah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وقالوا أئنك لأنت يوسف قال أنا يوسف وهذا أخي قد من الله علينا إنه من يتقي ويصبر فإن الله لا يضيع أجر المحسنين.
And they cried, could it be that you are Yusuf? He said, I am Yusuf. This is my brother. God has been gracious to us. God does not deny anyone who is mindful of God and steadfast in adversity the rewards of those who do good. So much to unpack in this beautiful ayah. I just want to start by saying, remember back a while ago, many weeks ago, when we discussed the ayah, when he was being wrestled down into the well, that very dark moment, and Allah told him, you will confront them. Allah's promise is true.
That's true.
And here he is. Here he is doing exactly what Allah told him he would. So he starts, they ask, are you Yusuf? And so surprised. And he says, yes, I am Yusuf, and this is my brother. And then he goes on to say, قَدْ مَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْنَا. Allah has blessed us. Allah has showed us His grace. And it's so interesting because he didn't say Allah has really tested us because I had to go through this whole
exactly.
His frame with Allah is actually I was blessed.
Yeah.
The way he interprets it.
That is the whole, the manner and demeanor of Yusuf, you can feel it in the dialogue. First of all, he prepared the stage for them, asked about Yusuf. Do you know what you did to Yusuf and his brother? Now, the light went on in their head. Oh, Anta Yusuf.
Right.
You are Yusuf. He wanted them to acknowledge his presence. You could have said, by the way, I'm Yusuf. No, he asked them to think and then to acknowledge his presence, to see him, because they have not seen him. When we don't see a person become invisible, that's why they throw him into the well, as if, he's not that important. Now they recognize his presence. Then he said to him, yes, I am Yusuf. And this is my brother, Hada Akhi. Now, he included his brother with him, قَدْ مَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْنَا. It is a very interesting that telling them your jealousy, your grudge against me and my brother does not stop the ni'mah of Allah on people. When you have hasad, when you have jealousy, you are not the one who gives those bounties. Allah is the one who does give the bounties. And then sometimes our jealousy and envy is, make us blind. We don't see that whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills prevail. No matter how much jealousy and envy have against someone. When they said, لأنت Yusuf, they could have said, قالوا إنك لأنت يوسف. You are the Yusuf that you asked about, because he said, do you know what you did to Yusuf? They said, you are the Yusuf. They are saying to him, indeed, Yusuf, you are Yusuf. You indeed Yusuf, or in the Arabic language, because it's been translated differently, they said, are you indeed Yusuf? That could be a question. قالوا أئنك لأنت يوسف, or you are indeed you are Yusuf. It could be both. قال I am Yusuf. وهذا أخي قد من الله علينا. Look at the English, the Arabic, sorry. قال أنا يوسف وهذا أخي. And this is my brother. وهذا أخي قد من الله علينا. Allah for sure indeed have been generous on us, or to us. من الله علينا. Look علينا. علينا also had long mud. من الله علينا. And his mercy upon us was so vast.
Yeah.
Although as you said beautifully, that he went through all of this difficulty, now he remembered only the man of Allah, because in all of this test, they said there's a in every mihna, which is a test, there's minha, there's a gift. But he says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have to go through this test because he wants to reward us. He wants to test our taqwa, our piety, being God conscious, or patient, or perseverance. إنه من يتقي ويصبر فإن الله لا يضيع أجر المحسنين. Was he teaching them a lesson? He said to them, listen, you want to succeed in life? You have to have taqwa and patience. Being God conscious and have perseverance and patience. And then do ihsan. 3 qualities here, 3 virtues. Taqwa, being God conscious. Sabr, patient perseverance. And ihsan. Or you can say taqwa plus sabr equal ihsan. فإنه لا يضيع أجرا فإن الله لا يضيع أجر المحسنين. We need to remind our audience, my dear brothers and sisters, you may have went through a very difficult time in your life, and you can remember that how Allah get us out of it. When we continue remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when have perseverance and patience, Allah will not put anything we have done to waste. Rest assured, every single moment of pain, discomfort, emotional troubles, being psychologically overwhelmed, Allah will compensate for it. Yusuf alayhi salam teaching all of us a lesson, not only his brothers, that sometimes we haste things when it happened now. This is dialogue took place after decades. Not 1 month, not 1 year, not 2 years. Talking about decades. And look his language. Allah bestowed his blessing upon us because we had stayed the course. I did not change my mind about my religion. I did not lose my faith. They may have thrown me to the well, but my iman stayed intact. I might be sold into slavery, but I stayed in the right path. I might be tempted, but I hold in the robe of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what he's telling them. Being consistent in the relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
And this very lesson, or this exact same wording, إنه من يتقي ويصبر فإن الله لا يضيع أجر المحسنين. And the one who has taqwa and perseverance, then indeed Allah will never let go to waste the reward of the ones who do good. this is something we've heard in this surah before.
Mm.
This is something that's being repeated.
That's true.
It was something that we heard said from Allah in times where things were actually very difficult for Yusuf. And what I find so meaningful is that this applies when things are going great and you're at the top of the world like he is now. And it applies when you're really, really struggling.
Yeah.
And on the outside, it looks like everything is closing in on you.
Mm-hmm.
I think the repetition of this, the repetition in this surah is something to be studied by itself.
Absolutely.
When is there this, all the different kinds of repetition, when we hear the same word used, the same phrase used, when we see the shirt coming into the picture, as we will soon. The literary device of repetition holds within it so much meaning in the surah.
And he learned from his father.
Exactly.
Sabrun Jameel.
Mm-hmm.
The father, very patient, have perseverance. Otherwise, he would have cooked all these children out of his home, would have kicked them out, and I don't want to see your face. But he has sabr with his own children, have sabr with everything. Yani, for me, sabr is being proactive. It's not a passive thing.
Right.
It's not just hold on, but you think positively. You have hope. You look forward, to the day that where you see the day and the light in the morning out of the dark night.
And remember what we discussed before. He also told them, وَلَا تَيْأَسُوا مِنْ رَوْحِ اللَّهِ.
Yes.
And do not despair of the grace of Allah.
Yes.
And we talked about that, meaning you might find Yusuf alayhi salam, you might find his brother, but it also could mean you might find your salvation. Exactly. It's not too late for you. But you have to take action. You have to go and do something. And that's in fact what they did. And here's the result. They are now given the opportunity to apologize. They are finally given the opportunity to make amends for this horrible sin that they committed.
And they lack taqwa and they lack sabr. That's why they did it to him.
Mm-hmm.
What they did to Yusuf is a lack of being God conscious.
Absolutely.
And sabr, because they wanted to have something without working for it. They want their father attention, but they're not being kind. They're not seeking it. They have not worked for it. Because sometimes we want a result without action, without effort.
Right.
And that's what they did. They want the father to pay attention to them, but they didn't make the effort to do so. And they didn't have taqwa, that's why have jealousy and envy against their brother. Yeah. SubhanAllah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. قالوا تالله لقد آثرك الله علينا وإن كنا لخاطئين. They said, by God really did favor you over all of us, and we were in the wrong. So this is it. This is our recognition of wrong, that they do admit that they were in the wrong, and that Allah has favored him over them. And this isn't, this favor of Allah over them could mean so many different things. But they do admit that they were wrong. They do recognize their mistake.
This is also continuation of his statement when he said, قَدْ مَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْنَا. They affirming his statement. Said Allah indeed has blessed us. They said, yeah. قالوا تالله, by Allah. They're swearing by Allah. Yeah, that is true, what he just said. لقد آثرك الله علينا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us in the Quran that he the one who يبسط الرزق لمن يشاء ويقدر. He may give people a lot of abundance of wealth, and some other people may have less. But the person must always, we have said that before, look to people who have less than you. And you have to remember the blessing that we have. It is on having good health, family around, being secured, ability to remember Allah, to have faith. All of those are blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, we thought that we are better than you, because you see, all oppressions stem from arrogance.
Yeah.
They thought that they're better than Yusuf, that
Mm-hmm.
their father should pay attention more to them. وَنَحْنُ عُصْبَةٌ إِنَّ أَبَانَا لَفِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ. He said, the father does not see all of us. We're big in number, because they are not full brothers with him. He said, why the father give attention to this boy? And we are so many of us here. That arrogance, entitlement. Now they say, no. We should have left the matter to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. تَاللَّهِ لَقَدْ آثَرَكَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْنَا وَإِن كُنَّا لَخَاطِئِينَ. We made a wrong assumption. We miscalculated this. We are among those who question Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the time wisdom. That, our father like you, and maybe he was also beautiful. There's so many layers into that. وَإِن كُنَّا لَخَاطِئِينَ. But the most important thing is they admit their mistake.
Yeah.
That's the first time openly they said, we were completely wrong. Now, Yusuf alayhi salam, this is an opening now. The acknowledgement of their mistake and the wrongdoing. Now Yusuf alayhi salam can forgive them. Therefore, with that acknowledgement, forgiveness will become very difficult.
Yes. That's incredibly important, because I think a lot of times people will point out that Yusuf alayhi salam forgave his brothers. So, Yusuf forgave his brothers and look what they did to him. So, you should forgive this person for whatever they did. But there were steps, there were conditions for that forgiveness, right?
Yes.
Even Yusuf alayhi salam, who is a prophet and has ihsan and has this, incredible heart of grace, there were conditions for that forgiveness. There were steps, there were things they did. They had to acknowledge their wrongdoing. They had to take steps to correct it. There were so many things that were involved before what comes next, which is his. And even then, he didn't have to forgive them.
Exactly.
He's not under no obligation, but he is giving an incredible sadaqah. This is a gift. When you forgive someone, you're giving them a gift, and you're also unloading from your heart as well. But it's important to note that there were conditions before. There were things that happened, and that forgiveness does require the aggressor to recognize their mistake and show remorse for it.
Exactly. And therefore you have to open your heart and your and to make yourself vulnerable and to admit your wrongdoing. Because what happened, sometimes even you sit in your office, I sit in my office in counseling, and the person said, do you know what you have done to me? I think you're exaggerating. I think I know that you said you this, but I think I said, listen, please, listen carefully what she's saying, what he's saying. They're telling you you're hurting them. I want you to acknowledge that. Sit with that for a minute. And then before you respond. Then the second step is that, do you see that you have done something wrong? Instead of saying, yes, I'm sorry, you say, but this, but that. When you do that, as if you erase the apology, just say, I'm sorry, full stop. And let the person sit with that for a minute. And then you continue the conversation or something else. And that's why Yusuf alayhi salam, when they heard that, then he forgave them.
Yeah. Would you like to read the next ayah?
نعم إن شاء الله. قال لا تثريب عليكم اليوم يغفر الله لكم وهو أرحم الراحمين.
He said, "You will hear no reproaches today. May God forgive you. He is the most merciful of the merciful." SubhanAllah. This is an accepting of an apology with incredible grace and generosity. I think one of the hardest things to do is forgive when you've been truly wronged, especially something so horrible. This is like the ultimate act of piety, I believe. And I say that like when we know the story of the false rumor that was started against Aisha radiallahu anha, and how Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu was the first in line for prayer. He was the most generous in every way. He was the companion with the Rasulullah alayhi salatu wasalam on the hijrah. No one could compete with his acts of piety. And yet he even had to be reminded to forgive his cousin who started or was part of the spreading of the rumor against Aisha radiallahu anha. And it shows us that and after being reminded by Allah, he of course did forgive him. But it does show us how high of a threshold, how high forgiveness actually is in terms of
absolutely
being it's one of the most difficult things on the heart, the most difficult things on the nafs.
نعم. The word تثريب is a very interesting word, which is an expression that after they acknowledge that, as like some ulama mufassirin said, when they said قد أثرك الله علينا, they said also it means Allah made you more forbearing. You have a better moral quality than us. You're better than us in behavior, because you could have punished them, could have put them in jail when they came to Egypt. They said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have made you better than us. But
not just in station, but in moral, in the moral high ground, basically.
Demeanor and personality. He said, "La tathriba." That means that I'm not gonna dwell on this anymore. I could have blamed you and tell you everything that you have done to me, but since you acknowledge that, which is the highest level of forgiveness, meaning that I'm not gonna tell you all of the things you have done to me now, since you admit what you admit. La tathriba alaykum.
I'm not gonna rub your face in it.
Exactly. And he said, which means also, I'm not going to punish you. I'm not going to seek any revenge. Since you admit it now, I'm going to just let go. But he said something very important, which is the shift in the approach. He could have said, لا تثريب عليكم اليوم أغفر لكم. I'm going to forgive you. But he said, يغفر الله لكم. Allah might forgive you. I ask Allah may Allah forgive you. What he said to them. وهو أرحم الراحمين. يعني, you see that I show you kindness, and mercy, but Allah has the one who has the ultimate mercy. Therefore, I'm learning from this beautiful name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rahmah, and His maghfirah, His forgiveness. That's why I'm being forgiven, being merciful. And you and I have been contemplating the 99 names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with Imam Ghazali. And Imam Ghazali, every time he mentioned the name of Allah, he said, then what haddul abd? What can human being learn from this name of Allah? He immediately went to the forgiveness of Allah. Immediately went to the rahmah of Allah, which took them from the limited forgiveness to infinite forgiveness, from limited mercy to infinite mercy. And that's a shift that he wants them to realize, that the forgiveness that I'm giving you, that came from the understanding that Allah is the ultimate forgiver. And Allah is the most merciful. وَهُوَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ. But also is to have them to seek forgiveness of Allah. They ask Him to forgive them. They acknowledging their mistake. He said, I'm forgiving you, but I want you to seek forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that their apology is not going to be just the remedy for the social relationship. But they have to seek also forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to uh, uh, to restate that purity in their heart, to remove the jealousy, the grudge, the envy from their heart. يغفر الله لكم ويغفر الله لكم وهو أرحم الراحمين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive you, and He is the one, the most merciful, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the things that I would like us to remind our audience also is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as you mentioned in the story of Abu Bakr, when we forgive, Allah forgive us. When we show mercy, Allah show mercy on us. Ar-Rahimun yarhamuhumullah. Those who show mercy to the people, Allah show mercy to them. Arhamu man fil ard. Show mercy to those people on earth. Yarhamukum man fis sama. That's why when you see cruelty, when you see people being killed in Gaza, when you see people, you have to know that people inflict that pain, Allah will deprive them from His mercy. Mercy only be given to those who show mercy. Ar-Rahibun yarhamuhumullah. Those who show mercy, Allah show them mercy.
Yeah, I mean, it underscores one of the golden rules of Islam, which is treat people as you want Allah to treat you.
Exactly.
And not how they treat you.
Yeah.
It's not treat people as you would want them to treat you, because they may not treat you that way ever. And that's not your standard. Your tormentors can never be your teachers. It's about, or another way to put it, treat people as Allah has already given to you,
Yes.
Give them the ihsan that Allah has given you. And what I love about Yusuf is this pattern of always redirecting any praise that he is given toward Allah. Yeah. You think I'm generous? No. Allah is the source of generosity. You think that I'm being merciful and you're saying that I'm a higher station than you? Allah is the merciful. And then He also, this is a true sign of His sincere care for them, because it's not just about rectifying things with Him as a person, but it's about saving their souls.
Yes.
And He cares about that. And it reminds me of really one of my favorite stories, even though it's a very difficult thing that happened in the Sira when Sayyidah Aisha was accused unjustly of adultery, and the response of Rasulullah ﷺ before it was revealed to him what was really happening and what the truth of the matter is, he said to her, if you are innocent, Allah will reveal your innocence. And if you are guilty, seek forgiveness and Allah will forgive you. This second part almost makes me tremble in awe of him, because that's not the response of most humans or any human, really. I mean, if you are guilty, I'm going to, fly off the handle. And the nicest thing you can say is, I'm going to divorce you. But that's not what he says.
Yeah.
He's immediately concerned for her salvation and not his ego.
Yeah.
Right? This is prophetic.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Yeah. Maybe in this note, we can have our audience to think about what are the things that we need to do in our personal life in establishing healthy relationship with our family members, people around us, the issue of forgiveness, the issue of mercy, the issue of kindness. Imam Ghazali is saying that when you forgive, when you show mercy, when you show love, you're not doing anyone a favor. You bring the best of yourself. It is the state, the hal that the person is in, because it reflected now in relationship with others. Therefore, it is not, uh, you know, showing men, which is bragging about what you have done for people, but you feel good in yourself that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have put mercy in your hearts, have put kindness in your heart. When you become a caring and loving individual, you rise to your potential in the human level. And therefore, we wanted just to think about how kind are we in our day? What do we say to people? And are we angry? Are we always in a state of, this, jealousy and envy? You know, the state of our heart really determine our maqam with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why remove those things from the heart. Let's work on our heart. And in relationship, let's admit our mistake to others. If you wrong somebody, we go to them with humility and ask for forgiveness.
And that's how you elevate yourself.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
how we elevate ourselves. Imam Majid, I'm actually, if you wouldn't mind sharing an experience. I mean, of course, you don't have to share the details, but just how did it feel when you've had to forgive somebody? What was that experience like?
Subhanallah, I felt that as if a mountain was on my shoulder was removed. Like I felt something heavy, being removed from me.
Subhanallah.
I tell you that I, especially being in the sabbatical now, reflecting, how can I really take care of myself spiritually? And I remember one time somebody was telling me how you were able to forgive me after I did this to you. And I said to the person, and actually I did it for myself first.
Yes.
Because forgiveness is something that you do for yourself, for your own goodness, for your own well-being. And I imagine forgiveness like a computer that you have all files open on it, and it slows down. That's your heart.
Yes.
And you never had any kind of closure. And sometimes it also like a virus that attacking, your software, and you have all of this kind of trouble processing things. You cannot sleep well at night. You cannot think clearly. You don't even your salah doesn't have that khushu' on it.
Yeah.
The heaviness of these things that grudge and ill feeling that we keep in our heart, it makes everything slows down. And when you remove that, then subhanallah, you sleep light. Your thinking become more clear. Your khushu' you concentrate more in salah, because you remove the obstacles, you remove the noise, you filter the noise. All of these are noise. By the way, one of the things that my father told me, and it stuck with me for a while, and he said to me, son, don't let anyone pollute or corrupt your heart. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, by having you to hold grudges and envy and jealousy, you allow that kind of things to corrupt your soul. He says that imagine like a glass that there's stain on it. The light does not penetrate. The more you remove that then when you hear the Quran, you hear it better. When you in Salah, you receive better that hal, that spiritual, state. For I do believe that each one of us should try go through this process. I would like to say that some people, even in the same home, they are not talking to each other for days, months, and a year. Parent and children, and let us see what are the roots of those tension. And the person who have wronged others should have humility to come to say, listen, I'm going to practice what the Prophet said when he said, by Allah, there's no person who seek forgiveness and afu without being elevated in the eyes of Allah. ما زاد امرؤ بعفو إلا عزا. The dignity and honor. Let us do that. Let us work in our hearts and take care of our soul by removing all ill feeling from our hearts.
Thank you so much. That's beautiful.
How about you?
I was going to talk about when I've had to seek forgiveness myself. And subhanAllah, it's a very similar feeling, which is a mountain being lifted from my chest.
SubhanAllah.
Having the opportunity to acknowledge a mistake or a wrong and asking for forgiveness, acknowledging what I did and the impact of it, being very remorseful and sorry, and asking for forgiveness is one of the most freeing experiences I can describe, honestly. So I highly recommend it.
Yes.
None of us, we're all sinners, we're all people who make mistakes. There's no shame in acknowledging your mistake. In fact, it's only a source of elevation and an incredible liberation. It weighs you down when you don't make amends. So I hope that anyone listening who might benefit from acknowledging a mistake sees this as a sign and takes action. Jazakallah khairan.
Barakallah fiik. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll end here, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum. We hope you enjoyed this conversation, and if you did, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Share this episode with others who may be interested in the meaning of the Quran. Also, we love hearing from our listeners. Tell us your reflections on our Instagram page at Quran Conversations. We read every single one. Finally, we hope this podcast encourages your own reflective journey with the Quran. This week's reflection prompt is this: how has Yusuf's demonstration of grace and forgiveness impacted you? Until next time, keep reflecting on the Quran. Assalamu alaikum.